Hey, it's Luke without a darts. You may notice I've got a little friend here. We wanted to do a little bit of a deep dive on the Worker Smartboard. We've been working on some custom PCBs over the past couple years. We've had about 5 different MOSFET boards, along with a few other projects that are in the works, 5 or 6 other boards actually. Sadly, the illness really screwed up some of the plans as far as chip supply, microcontrollers, and even the MOSFETs. All across the board, anything that's got a chip in it has been a problem. So while we're still working on our own boards, Worker came out with something kind of neat, I have to say. We've got our second camera rigged here so I can actually show you the display, but Greg installed this kit, and the kit is essentially one large board with a whole bunch of MOSFETs on it that can do a variety of different things. It's also got a number of sensors, including temperature sensors for your motors to enable for an actual heat cutoff, that if your flywheels get too hot, it will essentially cut off power to the flywheels, which is a really awesome feature, and I haven't seen anybody do that yet. So I think that's kind of neat and relatively innovative. I'm excited to see Worker kind of go a little bit outside of what has been their standard comfort zone. They both hired a designer who does other blasters. This is the S200. Apparently this was done by the same designer who did the shell design or the entire design for this blaster. I don't have exact details on that. A lot of this knowledge is second, third hand, so keep that in mind. But obviously we've seen their design language change quite a bit with that designer, and then they are going a lot farther with the chip. As you would expect from any good smart board, this converts this fully automatic blaster into a select fire blaster with a variable rate of fire and a variable flywheel speed, all adjustable from this little menu up on top of the blaster. The install was surprisingly easy after we got some directions from Worker. Part of the problem was we just started with no directions whatsoever. You will, however, notice that this menu is not currently in English. And so Greg used some web app or application to actually translate this and try to figure out what the menus meant. Worker is, by the way, working on an English version of this. It certainly won't be shipping to the US in Chinese. That wouldn't do us much good. I think it's really exciting to see Worker branching kind of deeper into this smart blaster realm. And one of the cool things about this board is, at least from our understanding, this works with both the Swordfish, the Dominator, and of course the Worker Phoenix 2.0. I imagine you could probably also make it work with the Worker Phoenix 1.0. However, I don't know how you'd fit everything inside, since this kit included some extra external parts such as this taller top rail that's got the actual buttons on the side of it for selecting your mode. One other fun feature is you can put a password on your blaster. That is another thing I have not seen done yet. It's currently not password protected yet. Greg's shaking his head. So we don't have a password in there now, but you've got a lot of options. So from the start, we've got an LCD that's obviously facing towards the right-handed operator's side. I think for left-handed, this is going to end up upside down more often than not. Scratch that. I've been informed that this display can actually go both directions, so if you're left-handed and need to look at the blaster this way, you're not going to have a problem with that at all, which is good. I initially thought that this was sort of keyed in one direction, but now looking at it, it is very obviously, it's got these little indents on both sides, so it is symmetrical, which is nice. We've got a power switch, which turns our blaster on. We get a nice little splash logo from Worker, and there we can see our options. Up front, we have 2 preset mode buttons. These toggle between 2 presets, which you can set a variety of different settings to essentially 2 different positions here and 2 different positions here. Greg set this up for me currently so that this left switch is essentially just changing the firing mode. So you can see we're going from full auto, which is six little dart icons, to 2 dart icons, so that's a 2-shot burst. This switch on the right side of the blaster is currently set to actually change the percentage of flywheel speed. So you can see we go from 80% to 100% flywheel speed. This could be really useful in a situation where maybe you're playing with kids and you don't want to hit someone as hard closer up, but you want to dial all the way up to 100%, which in our chronograph is generally over 150 FPS on this blaster. Down here at the bottom, you can see we've got 2 temperature readouts. Those are the flywheel and pusher motor temps. The actual sensor itself, the thermistor, just like on a 3D printer, is attached to those motors. And I think that is one of the more unique things I've seen. Obviously, that's done in drones and a variety of other industrial applications, but I don't think I've seen that done in a flywheel blaster yet. So that's pretty cool. But let's dive in and actually change some settings here, since I haven't actually done this myself. Since this is all in Chinese, you're not going to be able to understand the majority of this, unless you speak Chinese yourself, that is. We have translated this, and we will post this as well in the description, just for people that want to see. But keep in mind, when this kit and this blaster with the kit hit the States officially and are available on our shop, they'll be available in English. So this first menu, menu number 1, this is our blaster selection for 2 types of blasters. We are assuming that this is flywheel blasters, or full automatic blasters with an electronic pusher, and semi-automatic blasters. If we go back from there, we go down to the second menu. The second menu gives us 3 options. The first one is our delay time, so we can change whether there's a delay on or off. The next one is our delay time. So this is set in milliseconds for how long you want the pusher to wait before pushing the dart while the flywheels come up to speed. So if you're playing at a lower FPS, you could actually reduce this down to almost nothing. And if you're at higher, you might want to wait till your flywheels get up to full speed to get that maximum performance. What did I just do? What? So gear A here is for setting the position, the function of this switch on the side here. It's this one, I believe. So once we select in there, we've got 6 options. We've got our flywheel voltage, which is essentially how fast the flywheels are spinning. And these are, again, presets. We've got the low speed quick start switch, which we do not know what this means. It defaults to off, and I assume it might be some sort of idling, but we're not entirely sure as to what that actually is. The third one is the low speed quick start time, and that's just a delay in milliseconds. Oh, gotta keep, boy, this is hard to do on camera. Option 4 here is motor braking, which again is just for the flywheels on this setting. Option 5, we've got the actual brake time, which is how fast it will motor brake. And again, the more motor braking you do, the more heat you're going to cause. Something to keep in mind. And then this last option, option 6, is the brake voltage, which is a percentage of voltage. I'm not entirely sure how that works. In switch number B, you're going to see all the same similar settings that we just went through, but for the other switch. Switch number B. You wouldn't believe how difficult it is to try to tell someone else what something does without knowing anything that's on screen. We are working with Worker. We're going to send them our translations cleaned up in ways that sort of make sense for our current understanding. And hopefully that'll mean that the final English version of this will be fairly solid. Menu 4 is going to give us the burst modes. Both of these two are going to be the same, but for the 2 different presets. When I go into here, we're going to see what we believe is auto, single, 2-shot burst, 3-shot burst, 4-shot burst, 5-shot burst. We played on 2-shot burst over the weekend with the blaster, and I found that to be really nice. Just a nice tut-tut each time you pull the trigger. Obviously, you can customize this to your play style and change them on the fly with your 2 presets, so I think that's pretty sweet overall. And then menu number 2 here is just for the other presets. That's going to be the same repeat of that. Menu number 5 gives us our password access, which is pretty cool. So if I would stop backing out, I would actually get to go set my password. Maybe. Option number 1 will enable password. So it's a yes or no. I'm actually going to go ahead and change that to what I think is yes. And we'll go back. And then option 2 should be actually setting the password. Ooh, how does this work? Up and down, I assume. Did I just commit that? No, I went back. Oh no. Okay, so we're gonna set this. We're gonna do 20. We're gonna do 2022 with 2 zeros after. Don't come steal my Phoenix. Then we'll go back. I assume that will commit. Nope, is there more to commit? Someone who can read Chinese is probably laughing in the comments because this is probably requesting the old password. What is the password I need to put in, Greg?
1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0.
No, I gotta stop. Okay, so 1, all zeros.
Just push top button.
To go forward all the way. Okay, now it's asking, this is probably my new password, so let's just keep it simple. Let's do 2 in all zeros, and we'll go all the way forward, and that should set our password.
And then it should ask you to confirm that.
Let's assume that worked. Let's find out by turning the blaster off. I think I confirmed. Let's see if it asks for a password right at startup. Nope. Anyway, there's a way to change the password here. We did have it set, and he literally locked me out of my own blaster, which was fairly funny. I also think that's kind of nice when people like to pick up random stuff that's not theirs at certain events. This would keep you safe from those. Option 6 is apparently a fingerprint sensor. We're only reading the translation, so we don't actually know. Oh, it's asking for the password. I need the password just to change anything in here, and then I get access to what we believe is turn on fingerprint, which I'm not going to do because we don't want to do that, add fingerprint, and remove fingerprint. As someone who uses fingerprint on my computer all day long, every day, I love this idea. Just being able to unlock this, what a cool feature. But we don't know anything about whether the fingerprint sensor is going to be available at launch, whether it's included, or if it's a extra thing. Menu 7 here is a temperature protection, so you can actually set your flywheel temperature protection to a specific temperature, and you can set your pusher temperature protection to a specific temperature. And then finally, option 8 is actually just version information. So this is when it was last updated and what version we're on. Apparently we're on 2.0.0. I love the idea that Worker might be updating this and improving it over time, adding more features, more modules. The board itself is extremely robust. I've never seen so many MOSFETs on a single board. Presumably that's because they are making sure that it can do a full H-bridge for 6 motors on the pusher. That's probably the most challenging part as far as thermal management here. So a quick little firing demo. We did get to play with this at an actual game. Both Perry and I ran it for a round, and or part of a round I should say, because unfortunately we only brought with us 2 angled mags that weekend, and it made it a little difficult to compete when you have to scavenge really quickly. But right now I've got this set to the 100%, so this is full power with 150 millisecond delay, and I'm gonna do just the 2-shot burst first. Feels quite good, quite snappy, and then I'll go ahead and bump that over to full auto. Now, if you haven't noticed already, you'll notice that that was exceptionally faster compared to the original version of this blaster. And the reason is they replaced the gearbox with a plastic gearbox that has a higher gear ratio. I meant lower. Lower gear ratio. I would have loved to have seen that stay metal, but I'm going to assume that the plastic one is hopefully fine. But I do appreciate the rate of fire because now we're definitely up in that. To me, that sounded like about 8 rounds a second, and I think that's a much more formidable and usable rate of fire, especially when you're going to use burst mode. Burst mode, when your blaster only shoots 5 rounds a second, 4 rounds a second, it's just not that useful because you can pull the trigger manually faster. Overall, I think it's a really awesome thing to see this implemented on an off-the-shelf blaster that we can all buy. I really hope that all of this will be directly compatible and work really well with upgraded cages and flywheels, because as much as I love the 3-stage thing here, I really think that we can make this thing sing with a single or dual stage pulsar or pulsar.
Daybreak?
Probably pulsar. Daybreak would be a tight fit. Not with the board in there, that's for sure. But certainly Pulsar, a dual stage Pulsar, we've already got that cage on the shop, and I think that's a really solid option. A couple other little notes I wanted to add in here. There is a small hole on the side of the battery door here on the corner, and I kind of wondered in the past what it was for. And apparently you're supposed to run your battery alarm out that and attach it to the side. However, you only need to do that if you use the absolute largest pack possible. I was able to fit a battery alarm inside over the weekend, but it is going to depend on what battery you actually use. And you definitely want to make sure you've got a battery that has plenty of current, because 6 flywheel motors is a lot. It's also worth noting, Greg pointed out to me that There's another display on the actual main board inside here, and that display shows an identical copy of what's on this external, what I would call an auxiliary display that's up top. So depending on the blaster, some blasters could probably have this board just situated on the side of the blaster where it's peeking out the side, and that would make it really easy to access. It has the same buttons and configuration there for adjusting everything, so they're literally just clones of each other as far as the two actual displays. I think that's actually exceptionally nice for those that might want to build their own blaster around this smartboard. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this and any other questions you have about the board, about what it can do, what it can't do. Obviously, you've probably realized this by now, but it's a very robust board that can be used with just about any blaster that exists. It's already set up for both fully automatic and semi-automatic blasters, so presumably we as a community or hobby could easily be designing blasters around this board. Now, as far as I can tell, there's no brushless support. I don't see any ports for the ESC signal, so that's a little bit disappointing, but obviously I don't think Orca has done anything brushless to date. I'm really excited to see what people do with the board, almost more than the blasters that they're currently going in. Though, after playing with this at an actual game last weekend, I had a really good time. It felt really good in the hands. It's very snappy. It's a little bit on the loud side, but for CQB, it is a solid offering. Let me know what you think of this in the comments. Until next time, I'm out of darts.